Hallo und herzlich willkommen beim heutigen Kreativwirtschaftswebinar zum Thema innovatives Concrete Design oder Design in Kombination mit der Aufbereitung oder Wiederaufbereitung von Beton. Wir werden außerdem über aktuelle Trends und Entwicklungen aus der ungarischen Designszene sprechen. Mein Name ist Reane Löning und ich bin in der Außenwirtschaft Austria tätig. Die Außenwirtschaft ist die Internationalisierungs- und Innovationsagentur der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich. Und innerhalb der Außenwirtschaft bin ich für die Internationalisierung der Kreativbranche zuständig. Es freut mich sehr, dass ich dieses Webinar heute einführen darf. Heute werden wir gemeinsam mit der Kreativwirtschaft Austria nach Ungarn reisen, und zwar nach Budapest. Der Grund ist, dass die ungarische Hauptstadt schon seit einigen Jahren als Geheimtipp für die internationale Designbranche gilt, vor allem auch wegen der vielen innovativen Ansätze und Unternehmen im Designbereich. Gemeinsam mit der Kreativwirtschaft Austria berichten wir 5 bis 6 Mal im Jahr aus internationalen Kreativwirtschafts-Hotspots. Und Ziel dieser Reihe ist es, innovative Ideen, Konzepte, Geschäftsmodelle, Produkte zu Ihnen nach Österreich zu bringen, damit Sie die Möglichkeit haben, diese besser kennenzulernen und sich damit auseinanderzusetzen, damit Sie die idealerweise in Zukunft auch für die eigene Tätigkeit anwenden können. Noch kurz zum Ablauf. Nach meiner kurzen Einführung werde ich meinem Kollegen Thomas Moschig übergeben. Thomas ist der stellvertretende Wirtschaftsdelegierte in Ungarn und er wird Ihnen einen kurzen Überblick über die ungarische Kreativwirtschaftsszene geben und ein paar relevante Programme und Serviceleistungen der Außenwirtschaft Austria beleuchten. Danach übernimmt Otto Feuertag. Herr Feuertag ist der Geschäftsführer vom Unternehmen Europa Design und ist gleichzeitig Gründer und Präsident des ungarischen Verbandes für Innenausstatter. In dieser Funktion wird er über aktuelle Trends und Entwicklungen in der ungarischen Inneneinrichtungsbranche berichten und er wird außerdem exklusive Einblicke in spannende Unternehmen und Konzepte aus Ungarn bieten. Nach dem Vortrag von Herrn Feuertag übernimmt Herr Simon Nagy. Herr Nagy ist der Sales Director vom Unternehmen IVANKA Factory. Im Intro-Video haben Sie sehen können, dass die Geschäftsführerin des Unternehmens, Frau Katalin Ivanka, eigentlich hätte sprechen sollen, aber leider war sie kurzfristig verhindert und deshalb wird Herr Nagy übernehmen. Er wird über die Ins und Outs von IVANKA berichten. IVANKA ist ein Top-Player im Bereich Concrete Design und wird über Anwendungsmöglichkeiten im Interior- und Exterior-Bereich berichten, einige aktuelle Case Studies vorstellen und auch über aktuelle Trends in Ungarn und weltweit sprechen. Vielleicht noch ein paar technische Hinweise, bevor es dann richtig losgeht. Dieses Webinar wird aufgezeichnet und in circa 1 bis 2 Wochen werden wir Ihnen den Link samt allen Präsentationsunterlagen der Vortragenden zukommen lassen, damit Sie sich diese nochmals in Ruhe ansehen können. Auf Ihren Monitors sehen Sie unterschiedliche Schirme, also unterschiedliche Fenster, die Sie nach Belieben kleiner und größer machen können und verschieben können, wie es für Sie angenehmer ist. Und falls Sie während des Webinars Fragen haben, dann können Sie anonym im Chatfenster gleich Ihre Fragen eingeben und die werden dann in der Diskussion im Anschluss, also das wird in circa 40 Minuten sein, beantwortet werden. Und alle Fragen, die jetzt nicht beantwortet werden können, die werden im Anschluss per Mail beantwortet und die werden Sie dann zugeschickt bekommen. So, jetzt wissen Sie, glaube ich, alles, was Sie wissen müssen. Und jetzt wünsche ich Ihnen ein sehr spannendes und inspirierendes Webinar. Und ich werde jetzt meinem Kollegen Thomas Moschig in Ungarn übergeben. Viel Spaß!
So, der Ball ist in Budapest angekommen. Vielen Dank für die Steilvorlage. Ich darf Sie recht herzlich begrüßen zu unserem ersten Webinar gemeinsam mit der Kreativwirtschaft Austria und gemeinsam mit der Außenwirtschaft Austria hier aus Budapest. Wie ich schon vorgestellt wurde, mein Name ist Moschig und ich bin der stellvertretende Wirtschaftsdelegierte hier in Budapest. Die Stammhörer dieser Webinarreihe, die wissen schon Bescheid. Vielleicht darf ich Ihnen trotzdem ein kurzes Intro geben über unsere Services und was wir hier machen. Wir, das Außenwirtschaftscenter in Budapest bzw. die Außenwirtschaft Austria, wir als Teil der Wirtschaftskammer Österreich unterstützen sämtliche Export- und Internationalisierungsunternehmungen österreichischer Betriebe im Ausland. In unserem Fall in Budapest hier natürlich Richtung Ungarn gerichtet. Unser Netzwerk ist sehr groß und umfasst 110 Offices um die ganze Welt. Wir sind in über 70 Ländern präsent und unsere Mitarbeiter sprechen ebenso viele Sprachen. Das heißt, es gibt in Wahrheit keinen Markt, den wir eigentlich, keinen relevanten Markt, den wir nicht abdecken oder wo wir keine Business Intelligence bieten können. Unsere Vision ist es, dass wir quasi für österreichische Betriebe erste Anlaufstelle bei Exportbemühungen und Internationalisierungsbemühungen sind und unsere Services sind im großen Maße ohne weitere Kosten verbunden. Also auch wenn es um Anfragen zu Märkten geht, wenn es um rechtliche Rahmenbedingungen geht, wenn es um die Suche von Distributionspartnern geht, stehen Ihnen unsere Mitarbeiter gerne zur Verfügung. Ich darf Ihnen kurz präsentieren, wie es aussieht um unsere Service-Standbeine. Wir haben 3 Eckpfeiler, auf die wir unsere Services stützen: Wissen, Plattformen und Partner. Unser Ziel ist es, dass wir bestmögliches Wissen aus den lokalen Märkten aufbereiten und Ihnen zur Verfügung stellen. Das heißt, wir möchten die Informationen aufbereiten, damit Sie dort anfangen können, wo Konkurrenzunternehmen aus dem Ausland erst hinkommen müssen. Wir bieten Ihnen Plattformen, das bedeutet, wir bieten Ihnen Events und Möglichkeiten, sich zu präsentieren. Wir kennen vor Ort die relevantesten Veranstaltungen und helfen Ihnen, sich dort bestmöglich zu präsentieren. Und zu guter Letzt haben wir in den lokalen Märkten, so wie auch hier in Ungarn, ein breites Netzwerk und schaffen es durch dieses Netzwerk, Expertise aufzubereiten und Ihnen die richtigen Partner in Ungarn vorzustellen. Damit soll Ihr Erfolg sozusagen in Ungarn berechenbarer werden. Vielleicht ganz kurz zum Thema Ungarn. Think Global, Act Local trifft auch bei uns zu. Wir hier vor Ort mit unseren 10 Mitarbeitern sind spezialisiert auf die ungarische Wirtschaft. Und die ungarische Wirtschaft hat mehr gemeinsam mit der österreichischen als nur die gemeinsame Geschichte. Wir haben ganz starke wirtschaftliche Verstrickungen. Österreich und Ungarn sind einander wichtig. Weltweit ist Ungarn für uns der 7. wichtigste Exportpartner, der 5. wichtigste in der EU und sogar der 2. wichtigste in der Region Zentral- und Osteuropa nach Tschechien. Umgekehrt ist auch Österreich sehr wichtig für die ungarische Wirtschaft. Wir sind der 2. wichtigste Handelspartner Ungarns nach Deutschland. Die Investitionen Österreichs sind hier auch beträchtlich. Wir sind der wichtigste Investor in Ungarn nach Deutschland und wir haben über 1400 österreichische Niederlassungen in Ungarn. Was sind so die wichtigsten Sektoren in Ungarn? Das sind sehr traditionelle, etablierte Bereiche. Die Schwerindustrie ganz vorne dabei, die Automotive-Industrie. Österreichische Firmen sind auch ganz starke Player im Bereich des Lebensmittelhandels, des Dienstleistungssektors und der Bauindustrie. Wir haben uns aber auch zum Ziel gemacht, nicht nur die etablierten Bereiche und Märkte zu beleuchten, sondern auch den Sektoren Aufmerksamkeit zu schenken, wo wir glauben, dass enormes Wachstumspotenzial vorhanden ist. Also Branchen, die jetzt vielleicht noch ein bisschen ein Nischendasein fristen, aber in Zukunft das Zeug hätten, wirklich groß zu werden. Exemplarisch möchte ich hier 3 nennen. Das ist der Bereich IKT, Informations- und Kommunikationstechnik, der Bereich Startups, der in Ungarn immer mehr an Geschwindigkeit gewinnt und schon sehr stark ist, aber auch der Bereich Kreativindustrie, um das es heute geht. Kreativindustrie bzw. Creative Industries. And this creative industries is a buzzword. Let me switch now to English, since our experts who are here today are English-speaking guests also. I'll just drop 2 sentences why we chose to present Hungary and design in Hungary. We want to talk about Hungary, but we want to talk about Budapest also, because Budapest is the creative hub in Hungary, definitely, and Budapest is also awarded UNESCO Design City. So that means that mostly everything related to the design sector is actually happening here in Budapest. Significant changes happened in the last years, especially since the eastern enlargement of the European Union, and everyone who has visited Budapest in the recent years can confirm that there's a lot of startup scenery going on, a lot happening in the creative industries. You can see that on the streets, you can see it whenever you visit the city. I can undermine this also with numbers. We figured that the creative industry, in a broader sense, accounts for almost 7 to 8% of the GDP. So that means that the sector is not just growing, but is already like highly significant yet. Why we chose concrete design? Because this, we think, is an international trending topic, which is not too competitive yet, but it's really worth having an eye on this sector and to collaborate with Hungarian and international stakeholders in this regards. And I can tell you that we have two experts here today who will tell you a little bit more about the design scenery in Hungary and also about concrete design. First, let me introduce you to Mr. Feuertag, who is the CEO of Europe Design and also president and co-founder of the Federation of Home Decorators. And he represents 40% of the Hungarian interior design companies within the European Union. He will talk about the trends and about the sector more in a broader sense. And then we will have Mr. Simon Nagy from IVANKA Factory, the concrete company in Hungary. He will talk a little bit more specifically about the trend of concrete design. A last technical remark, as I have just written on this slide, you can insert all your questions you're having during the presentation in the chat window. It's in the Fragen window, and at the end we will collect them, and if we have enough time, we'll try to answer all of them. But now it's time to get this topic started. Let me welcome Mr. Feuertag, who is here today. Thank you very much for joining, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Austria. Good afternoon, creative industry. In the next slide, I would like to give you an overview of the Hungarian heritage of the creative industry and the main players, and would like to give you some feedbacks. Why is it easy or not easy to start up a creative company in Hungary? The Hungarian taste is very unique. We have a traditional motifs, as you can see, but just to give you some good data, the industry is growing, it's existing, and the growth is 5 times higher and faster than the average of the Hungarian economy. It's also called a pleasure industry because with services you can add more advantages to your product and not to have to focus on the product itself. The pleasure industry is an easy and very fast possibility to grow your business in Hungary, because by the apps and the IoT solution you can spread your product and service very easily. Now, Hungary is a strange country. We are surrounded by Slavic countries, and their taste and style is a little bit different than the Hungarians. So you have to be really careful and unique with our market. I give you some feedbacks. Why do I think this is true? As Thomas mentioned, yeah, Hungary will be, let's say, the next Berlin, the next creative capital of Europe. But to really understand, I would like to give you some points. Who are the main players in this market? What is our heritage? So who are the connections and the historical points that you can link back to? And who are the main players that you have to work with? So our federation is the Hungarian Home Decorators and Interior Designers, is a non-profit organization. We are supporting this profession. We try to separate its position from architects, interior designers, and home decorators, and also try to give education to this sector. Education is a key word in the creative industry. I will come back later to this point. There are other federations and associations and organizations who may be at your service. The Design Terminal or the Hungarian Fashion and Design Agency, which is a fresh organization giving support. Highlights of Hungary is a website giving you a selection of the latest novelties, architecture, design, or software innovation. So please also follow these. Just to give you what do we mean under creative industry. Creative industry has maybe 7 big chapters like communication design, the usual design, product design, and architecture, entertainment, which is important for media and film industry, and then fine arts, which is obvious, And it's the next topic is software and software development and hardware development. That's also a very, very blooming market in Hungary, so you may join to this. Data sciences is another fresh area, and all supporting industry who are supporting the creative industry is also meant to be the member of the creative industry in Hungary as well. I give you some heritage and some feedbacks who were the in the past 100 years the big players of furniture design, for example, Marcel Breuer, who is the father of Bauhaus and the most recognized furniture designer. This is his interior, did it in the USA. Or in the music composers, Liszt, Bartók and Kodály, he's a well-known name in Austria. And creative design is meant to be designing educational stuff. So for example, musical education is invented by Mr. Kodály with the signs that you may see on these slides. Maybe the most recognizable product and designer is the Rubik Cube, which is around 40 years old. That represents the simple and humble approach to the design. Just give you a very funny detail. Mr. Rubik, the inventor of this cube, had to spend more than 1 day to finish his Rubik Cube. Now the world champion do it in 4.3 seconds. This means that creativity has no limits. Another example for mathematicians, physics, and product designers is the Gömböc. It's an invention of a new product, a new shape, which has 2 equilibrium points. That's a kind of experimental design. Very famous graphic designer and fine artist, Mr. Victor Vasarely, who invented and designed the logo of Renault. And coming back to the 21st century, Prezi is a presentation software developed by a Hungarian startup, which is used by more than 45 million people. That's, let's say, a modern version of PowerPoint presentation that we are using in this very moment. The other famous Hungarian startup is another niche market supplier for video streaming. It's called Ustream. This company was recently bought by IBM, who thought that they must invest in this industry in order to meet the new requirements. Ustream started his business by studying the needs of American soldiers, trying to make phone calls and video calls and webinars. So these are the companies that IBM just bought recently, and part of it is a client from us, Ustream. Now, fashion design. Hungarian fashion designers are very, very talented, but let's say the most successful is Nanushka. She's a young lady, very well recognized and supported by the Hungarian state as well. She's very world famous in the world and in the press as well. Film and media industry. Hungarian had a lot of directors and famous in photography, and the recent Oscar as a best foreign film was recently won by the film The Son of Saul. Actually, this was his first film, and being part of the film and creative industry in visual design, also there are a lot of connections that you may use. There are some fields of the Hungarian creative industry like textile and rug who are organizing themselves. So we may say that there is a buzz in the creative industry organizing themselves, exhibitions, programs. So there are organizations that you can jump into and get cooperation with. Education. Education is the key of everything. We have 2 major universities, the Metropolitan and the MOME, who are, let's say, the main leaders of design, architecture, product design, software design, media design. So if you would like to have employees, workers, I very strongly recommend you to get in contact with them. Shows, trade shows. There are home decoration, building industry trade shows. Let's say they are not like Milan, London or Köln, but we are catching up. Also, we have a design week, which is very popular and trying to spread the news of being a design capital to the public. We have a new home decorator show salon. It's really a nicely done premium show. So again, it's worth to visit and have a feeling. We have also some private exhibitions like the Caracalla Design Week, Design Days. It's a private organization collecting the best producers and traders of the market. Again, a good meeting point to meet people. We have a quite developed media sector, printed and online as well. So if you want to build up your brand and make your brand awareness higher, then you have partners. Just some figures of the Hungarian furniture industry is going quite well, but definitely not in an Austrian or German standard. There are some brands who are presented here, but some well-known Austrian brands like Habitat or Interiors not at all here. So again, this is a sign to show that there's a lot to do and that there's a space to go in and fill it up. So let's talk about your real challenges. What are the rules and what are the characteristics of the Hungarian markets? Hungarian market is a very conservative market. Of course, we had a history. We had a Cold War. During the Cold War, we had a very low education of design and architecture. Therefore, the people who are now in the decision-making age, they are not really well educated in a classic term. So breaking down the Berlin Wall, a lot of investment came to Hungary, but really the taste, the high sense of design didn't come through yet. It's growing, but not as fast as it should be. The other surrounding nations, countries are much more growing much faster than us. Let's talk about the Hungarian-Austrian relation. What is a challenge for you to jump to create and to solve as an entrepreneur coming to Hungary? I think if you want to sell your products and services, you have to focus definitely to the young generation, but if they are not represent enough purchasing power, you need to change the mentality and the sense of design of the mid-age, so 40s and 50s up age group. They have the money, they have the capacity to invest or develop. We are always talking about now the business B2C sector, so end user sector. But there you need to change the mentality, to change their view to the design as it is. Of course, your main partners will be designers, architects, interior designers. They are helping you, but their influence is not enough, not strong enough to make that change, to make them a customer. So when you try to introduce a product or service in Hungary, really be careful and make a very deep analysis. In the B2B sector, so business to business, so corporation sector where we are working also as a company, the difference between the Austrian and Hungarian taste is not as big. So what's next? What you have to do? Try to get in connection with the Hungarian small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. They are there, they are active. You may find them in the social media. There are events, international events like TEDx or Pechakucha or Startup Safari. Startup is a very well-going industrial part of this design creative industry. So I welcome you and I am at your service anytime when you come to Hungary. I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Feuertag, for this very nice introduction into all different kind of design sectors and elements, because the design and the creative industry does not just consist out of one or two elements, but it's a very broad world of design. And I'm really happy that you tried to give us an insight into all different kinds of it. The question and answers we'll get later on to them. I'm sure our audience will have one or two questions regarding your position and further opportunities. But now, for the moment, let me thank you for the brief presentation. And let me welcome now Mr. Nagy. He's our next speaker, and he will narrow down the broad creative industry into what is there, the trend of concrete design, which is basically our topic of today. And here he is already. Thank you very much for coming.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
And the stage is already yours. I'm really curious about what you have to say about your successful business model and trending topics in Hungary.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Nagy, and I work as a sales manager for IVANKA Concrete and Design Services. This company was founded more than 15 years ago, so it has a history. But 6-7 years ago, it received a very serious investment from a venture capital, and this allowed to enter the international markets as well. So that's the point from when we think that's a multinational company and not a garage company anymore. The history of the company is very, very interesting, but you can find everything on our website, which is www.ivankaconcrete.com. So as for now, we would like to talk about our capabilities. As for today, we are able to produce more than 100,000 square meters a year, and which you will find very interesting, I think, that IVANKA was a born global company. This meant that we were present on the international market earlier than on the Hungarian market, and it was a great achievement for us to re-enter the Hungarian market. So just for your information, a few years ago, only 10-12% of our revenue came from the Hungarian market. This year, most probably, it will be over 70%, and I think it really shows the potential of the Hungarian market. So I think right now, especially when talking about the construction industry, this is a market which worth to deal with. The main reason, the other main reason that our revenue increased heavily in the Hungarian market is the following: that Hungary is a post-socialist country, and in these countries, concrete had very different meaning than in Austria or in Western Europe. In these countries, like in Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, concrete was basically a bad word because everyone associated to the high-rise buildings, the huge apartment blocks you can see. And first of all, we had to rebrand the whole concrete industry in Hungary. And we are really proud because IVANKA was the leader of it. And as for now, I think we reached to a point where concrete, or as we call it in Hungarian, design concrete, is again very popular in Hungary. Right now, I would like to talk a bit about our services. We are not only a factory, but we also offer several other engineering services like architectural design, research or development. But basically, we like to call it 360-degree customer care. We manage the whole process from the very beginning to the end, and we are really proud of this because I think that's our biggest achievement. As for the concrete, as I mentioned to you, we had to reimagine the whole concrete name and what we understand when we say concrete. So our factory produces, of course, standard concrete lookalike concrete ties, but basically we like to think that concrete is a living material, which means that it has much less limitations than any other materials, and that gives the freedom to the designers to think about new forms which you cannot achieve with any other material. Concrete is very often compared to ceramics or other plastic materials, but concrete is much closer to a natural stone surface than to a ceramic surface. and of course its characteristics are also much closer. So the material itself is really a living, a natural, I like to call it a natural stone. And there's also a very good saying in Hungary, which we like to say, that perfectly imperfect, which means that you cannot control its surface. It will be totally random. It's like a natural stone. But besides that, of course, that the surface of it is absolutely random. It's also a high performance, a very durable, long-lasting material. So usually we give 30 years warranty for our products, but we are pretty sure that it will stay on the facade or basically anywhere for more than 100 years, because concrete is really a long-lasting material. The other big benefit of the concrete that it's a sustainable material. You have to use 3 times less carbon dioxide when producing a concrete slab comparing to a metal slab. And these days, I think that's really important. We need to find materials which are eco-friendly ones, and concrete is an eco-friendly one. As for the applications, we have to also reinvent the applications. So in the old days, concrete was used for the basement of the buildings. As for now, we use it on several places, on facades, for interior floorings, for interior walls, exteriors, or urban furnitures, both for vertical and horizontal applications. So basically anything you can imagine is achievable from concrete. Right now I would like to introduce a few projects of ours to you. This project, Hotel Clark, which is located basically in the best place of Budapest, as it's next to the chain bridge, which is the most famous bridge in Hungary. We can say that this is our flagship project here in Hungary. So it's located next to the chain bridge, right under the Buda Castle, and it's a large facade project. You can see those monolithic blocks on the picture. We made story high more than 70 pieces from these blocks, and the weight of these blocks were around 1.5 tons each. So it was a real engineering achievement. And what we are really proud of with this building, that it was not only a factory project, but it was a design and build project, which means that from the very first design process, from the very last piece, we managed everything: the design, the production, the installation, the corrections after, everything was in our hand. And that's why we're really proud of this. But as you can see, that there are very prestigious projects in Hungary as well. And that was just the beginning, this Hotel Clark, because as for now, we are working on even larger projects for the Hungarian National Stadium. Yes, this is also a very nice view for the facade. Earlier, we operated, as I mentioned to you, we are an international company operating in more than 75 countries around the world. We also have projects in Vienna as well. We produced precast balconies for a very nice building. You can see the difference between the two applications. So let me switch back to the previous slide. So this was a story high, 1,000 kilograms huge element, while these are much smaller but still precast complete elements. So you can see that the limitations of the material are basically non-existent. We can do anything. Yes. Currently we are working on an interior project in London, which is personally my favorite. It will be a very nice one. And the other interesting part with this is that for this part, the concrete comes from Hungary, but all the other parts come from Austria, because we use mainly Hilti components and other stuff for this. and this will be a really international project designed by architects from Milan, built in London, concrete from Hungary, and all the other parts from Austria and Germany. So that's really, really interesting. And let me just drop a few comments about our real flagship project, which is located in New York. So you can see that we really have no limitations with the transportation and the material itself. This Dock 72 project is located in New York, in Brooklyn. It's a 10,000 square meter project as for now. It's one of the largest developments in Brooklyn right now. We supplied not just the concrete material, but also the fixing parts as well. Basically everything, we gave a full service for that. And but besides that, these are all the projects. And as I mentioned to you that right now we are focusing on the Hungarian market because it's really growing. The CE region right now is growing 3 times faster than the other regions in Europe. And in Hungary, the construction industry is really emerging. So the growth this year was 30% higher than last year, which you can see it's a crazy number. So the opportunities are endless right now in Hungary. So that's why we decided to focus on the Hungarian market. And I can only recommend to Austrian companies as well to come here to find Hungarian partners. For example, we are very open for Austrian companies to work with Austrian companies, architects. Hungary is really not far from Austria. That's very important because of the transportation of the goods. That's a very good point. And I really urge you to come here because the Hungarian products are very good quality ones, but much cheaper than the Austrian ones. And just to close my presentation, let me use the sentences from Thomas that think global, act local, come to Hungary because we are close and please.
Yes, thank you very much for your for the introduction to your successful business model. I think there is a lot of content, and I would also like to Mr. Feuertag to come here and to also talk a little bit about what you just said before, because there is one question I already have in mind, and I'm sure it's interesting for our companies as well. You said that you're also the president of the Association for Interior Companies in Hungary. So if I think as an Austrian company, how can you possibly help Austrian companies to find partners here? And which companies are the most likely to find partners in what sectors? You mentioned so many sectors. What are the most promising ones according to your experience?
We are representing home decorators mainly, and the home decorator market is a really large one, and there's a big potential. I think smart solutions, so smart home control, smart furnishing, smart design may be one part. So this is how I encourage young architects or software engineers to develop some application for that. And all kind of special materials, coverings, textile, wood industrial solutions are mostly welcome. So knowing the market, we see that there are a lot of materials which are not present here in Hungary, or they are available in Austria, but no Hungarian partners. Maybe usually the reason why I'm not entering the market because our market is small. So if you find a solution with a larger wholesaler or importer who may create a stock and maybe to supply these products not only in Hungary but also in the other countries around Hungary, it will be more feasible for the size issue, to solve the size issue. Because we know that the Austrian furniture and interior design materials industry is very creative. we visiting fairs in either in Vienna, in Graz, and following the online media. There are a lot of materials which are not existing here. So I encourage them to come and meet our designers, ask their opinion, and the designers will introduce them to producers or traders or importers, and then the Austrian producers or creative industry people will have a knowledge and a reliability that, yes, this is a country where they can sell their products and service.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Nagy, maybe a question to you also, because it might be relevant for our spectators. You mentioned that you're currently very international already.
Yes.
And that you're looking for collaborations. How is it possible to approach you? Which companies should approach you? And then where do you seek for cooperation with Austrian companies in the field of concrete design, exterior design?
Well, basically, we are open to design cooperation. So we are very open to architects as well. But also private persons are very welcome to find us with their needs. We are a large company and an international company, but we are really proud of that. There is no order that we refuse to deal with. So basically, if you need only a wash basin, or you have a 5-story high building, please feel free to find us. If you are an architect or a private person or an investor, we are absolutely open to you, and you can reach us out through our website, which is www.ivankaconcrete.com.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that we have a question from the audience as well. Let me just come here to read this out loud. The question goes to Mr. Nagy and is as follows. What were the major challenges that you faced with your company in the internationalization process? I think I remember you said that it was a little bit tough in the beginning. Why have you decided to go international immediately?
Well, the reason was very simple. The Hungarian market at that time, that was the time of the big economical crisis. And basically we had no other opportunity but to focus on the international markets, and it worked. So that's the main magic. And at that time, concrete was a really new material. It's still not a very well known one, but at that time it was truly unique. If a company worked with concrete, even with experience, because at that time IVANKA had more than 10 years of experience, but mainly the economical situation was behind this international. So it was a bit forced one, but it turned out very well.
Okay. Do you see other topics rising on the horizon other than concrete design? Do you have other fields where you say, okay, it's very small right now, but it's an international trend and IVANKA is going for that? In Hungary or international?
As for now, we really would like to focus on the outdoor business. We are a concrete company, so we don't want to change our profile radically. But what we see right now that the outdoor furnitures are really trending these days from concrete because they are long-lasting, very difficult to steal, which is a very important aspect. And very nice and long-lasting. So we really would like to focus on this part.
So exterior.
Exterior, yes, exactly.
Can you confirm that? Do you see potential in the exterior?
Yes, we are also moving to this direction, and the market is growing nicely, and the price level is also getting higher. That's a usual example. So let me highlight. 15 years ago, they didn't want to spend too much because it's not durable, everybody will steal it. And now they learn after 15 years that they have to invest more to get a better quality. So it's a good example. Maybe there is another market I would like to, or development field, 3D printing technology. So 3D printing for combining 3D printing and wooden industry or textile or glass or other material is growing very well. And in this case, you can focus on even small size project, but very high level. So value added knowledge products where the entrepreneurs can sell their knowledge and creativity. And this technology, the 3D printing, is really meant to be a right tool for them. And very important to work with university students to introduce design competitions. So it's also you as a producer, you may get new ideas, new design, but excellent connections with your future workforce. And now everybody is international. So maybe it's a Hungarian, but 5 years later we'll work in Linz and we'll export to London or Dubai.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that we have another question popping up, and the question goes out to Mr. Nagy again. Do you think that the market is likely to keep on growing as it did in the last years? I assume this refers also to the concrete design and to the exterior market. Do you think this analogy will continue, or do you see?
Yes, I think that the market will keep on growing, especially this exterior part. Maybe the interior design will stop a bit, but the exterior part, especially the landscaping part, the parks and recreation and other applications like this, will definitely grow, because in the cities there are less and less green fields, and concrete is an organic material, so it's not like a steel bench which really cannot be applied to that part, because it's totally different. Concrete will live together with its surrounding, and as I mentioned, the footprint of concrete is much lower. So yes, I think it will grow. Maybe the speed of growth will be slower.
Okay. Another question coming up. This goes out to Mr. Feuertag, and the question is as follows: Budapest as the new Berlin. How long do you think this popularity will stay? That's interesting, and I would also add the controversial question. On the one hand, Budapest is the new Berlin. On the other side, private sector is lacking money and is not able to invest. How does the two go together? So what do you see about this trend of Budapest being the new Berlin, and how will this develop in the future?
So in my understanding, Budapest is a new Berlin in terms of innovation, creative people, and definitely this creativity will find its market in Hungary in one part, but mainly in the larger world. So the real market, the export market for Hungarian creative industry, and without international partners and capital investors, there's no way. The Hungarian market is too small to build a brand only for the Hungarian market. So the lack of money, yeah, we have to live with it for a time, but everybody is thinking in European scale or even larger scale.
Yes, completely agree. Another question coming up to Mr. Nagy again. Do you see just as much potential for concrete design in interior and product design? I think we partly covered that, but what do you say about product design?
That's a very interesting question. I think that's also an emerging market, but not as much as the outdoor part. A few years ago, this product design was really strong, but recently the interest for these products decreased a bit. But I think it's still a good idea to start something with it. We at IVANKA decided to put our focus somewhere else, but sometimes we also do new products and product designs and furniture and stuff like that.
Okay. Another question. It goes out to Mr. Feuertag. What would you recommend Austrian design companies for their first steps in Hungary? Reaching out for you, maybe?
Yes, reaching out to us. Come and visit us. We will take you a tour. We will introduce you some fairs, some media, and meet people, meet young people, definitely, and to have a real experience. I suggest to meet some kind of state organization or bigger decision makers to have a direct feeling what are the real challenges to make businesses. So we don't want to mislead you, and we would like to show the real face of Hungary, because it's a difficult market, but there is a way, there's a clever way that you can sell your products. And you have the main person, and then to develop the next steps. So come to our federation, we can introduce you to other federations if it's needed. There are a lot of good examples for that.
Also, I can add maybe something to this, because we have the big advantage of proximity here, and it doesn't cost a lot to come here and to check out the scenery. So this is one of the big advantages we faced in the last couple of years also, whenever we did events. It's very little investment in participating in events. It's very little investment in terms of time, in terms of money, to come here and to just evaluate the market in practice and not just in theory. And then we had a lot of moments of surprise where people said like, wow, okay, this is apparently Budapest, how it changed. This is not the Budapest how I used to know it from 20 years ago when I visited as a tourist. And yeah, the proximity is something which is like really helpful for companies, because you cannot travel to further markets far away, but within the European Union, and especially if you're a company from eastern regions of Austria, I think it really pays off to come to Budapest or to Hungary in general. So little investment and sometimes big outcome.
And sometimes it's so obvious that Hungarian and Austrian should work together that many people don't think it. Everybody thinks in a larger scale, want to go what? While Hungary is a very obvious choice to be a business partner, and the image of Austria in the eyes of Hungarian entrepreneurs is absolutely positive. So you have to use it and be brave and calm. Yes, now we can do business, and the business culture developed a lot. I know in 20, 30 years ago we had challenges, let's call it like that, but now it's really getting closer really to the European average level, and sometimes higher.
And maybe a reason for that is also that the Hungarian economy is somehow similar to the Austrian economy as well in terms of structure of companies. A lot of small and medium-sized companies, not the big ones, but a lot of small niche players. And I think if two niches meet each other, it can be the beginning of something really great. I see there's another question popping up. I'm going to just read that out. It goes out to both. How does Budapest differ from other major European cities when it comes to design industry? This is actually interesting, because a lot of CE countries, they are claiming the same, like Warsaw, for example, or other cities. They say like they will be the new Berlin, the new London, whatsoever. Where do you actually see the USP of Budapest? It goes out to both of you. Maybe Mr. Nagy, you can start.
Well, that's a very good question. I would say that Budapest has a great history, and I think that's the difference between other cities and Budapest. That here in Budapest, the modern and the old design can meet each other in a very nice way, a very nice composition. So as Mr. Feuertag mentioned, for Hungarians, the traditions are very important. And that's also true for our design. That's why I think it's more unique than anything else in the world. So that's why I think Budapest can be a leader and a true unique player.
And absolutely agree with this. In addition, the key of creative industry and creativity is always curiosity, questioning the existing systems. And Hungarians are a nation who are very good in questioning big systems. This is why we have a lot of shared service centers in Hungary, in Budapest. We are a shared service empire, let's say, because shared service centers questioning the usual and boring big systems of administration and things like this. And the Hungarian creativity is always questioning. And the process of creating something new always starts with a question: how else can I do it better? and we don't have to organize hackathons and this kind of brainstormings, because Hungarians do it from their genes themselves. So this is a Hungarian national specialty to question things, and we always disassemble things, try to understand how it works, and then to create something. Maybe this is the biggest difference between other nations and other capitals. And I absolutely agree. Come walk on the streets of Budapest and you will see that innovations, especially innovations that were built in the terms of the previous century. So the chain bridge, the first underground, and things like this. So this city was really the innovation city of Europe in the end of the 18th, and hope we will come back to this soon.
Yes. But if you come to Hungary, apparently you have to be prepared for a lot of questions, as you mentioned before. Do we have time for another question? Maybe a last one. Let me just see. I think we mainly covered, if I understood it correctly, all of the questions asked so far. It doesn't matter if a question pops up later on, because we'll still be here and can answer all your questions in detail later on after this webinar. Gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much for this very nice introduction and the very nice presentation about the creative industry and the concrete design. Thank you very much. And let me just give you some last remarks. As we just said before, or as we just heard before, the one thing is the great theory, and the other thing is the practice. And Budapest is like really so close to Austria that it really pays off to visit some of the events. We try to filter some really promising events which will be held in the soon future. And you can see them here on the screen. One will be the Salon taking place in September 2019, an exhibition of design trends. There will be another event, the Budapest Design Week, where Advantage Austria is also aiming for having a stand. So if you happen to have products which you want to exhibit to the Hungarian audience, then just please visit the link which we inserted under this number 2, bit.ly/Design Week Budapest. We have another event coming up in 2020, the Home Design. Home Design is a part of a big international fair, basically in the construction industry, but Home Design is a part of it, focusing on the interior sector. And lastly, we have the Design Terminal. This is an incubator program for startups and young entrepreneurs, very promising. And as I said before, the startup scenery is also very lively, and there's a lot of connection between the startup industry and the creative industry. Okay, this was it from Budapest. I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and yeah, I would like to pass the ball back to Vienna. Jan, it's your turn again.
Vielen herzlichen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit. Ich hoffe, dieses Webinar war sehr interessant und relevant für Sie. Bei Fragen dürfen Sie uns immer kontaktieren. Also Sie sehen die E-Mail-Adresse von den Kollegen in Budapest gerade auf dem Monitor. Und unser nächstes Webinar wird am 9. September um 10 Uhr in der Früh stattfinden. Dann geht es um Gastronomie, Branding und Design aus Kopenhagen, also aus Dänemark und aus Manila auf den Philippinen. Und dazu bekommen Sie auch noch genauere Informationen. Und es würde mich sehr freuen, wenn wir Sie da wieder begrüßen dürfen. Nochmals herzlichen Dank an die Speaker aus Budapest. Für mich war es sehr interessant und ich habe sehr viel Neues dazu gelernt. Und ich hoffe sehr, dass wir uns bald wiedersehen. Also herzlichen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit und bis zum nächsten Mal. Wiedersehen.